You're listening to Ask When, the podcast. Folks from all walks of life talk about their daily hustle and bustle, living and celebrating life, sharing tips on becoming champions, especially for those who are muscling mental and physical disabilities. Ask When, the podcast, with your host who has mustered over 30 years living with cerebral palsy and going strong. Author and cerebral palsy advocate Wynn Charles. Ask When, the podcast starts right now.
Welcome to Ask When, everyone. Today I have gough with me, and gough is chiming in all the way from Australia, yes, aka Down Under, yes, where the wildfires were and the koala bears still trying to function. And yes, we are still trying to function through this time of the coronavirus. But I'm going to let gough take it away and explain more about what he does. So welcome, gough. And could you please explain to my fan base all about what you do?
Absolutely. Well, firstly, thank you very much for having me on the podcast. But as you say, my name is Gough. I'm from Beer Nuts Productions, which is a predominantly film production company that's based on the Gold Coast in Australia. We also do audio downloads and have a couple of books, but mainly we're film, and mainly it's comedy films, because my goal is to make people laugh and smile and take their mind off all of this nonsense that's going on in the world. So
yes.
we make
please.
we make completely original content. So it's all completely original, independent content that we put up on the Beer Nuts Productions website for folks to download. So I'm also legally blind, which obviously makes what I do rather unique. So I'm essentially, in a nutshell, I am a blind filmmaker.
When you sent me that email, of course, I got it from my assistant. You said to me in that email, I'm blind. I'm sure that raises questions in Wynn's head, and I'm like, oh yes. So basically, the first question, and I have dealt with the blind for several years. I've dealt with the deaf. I've dealt with the physically disabled, obviously. But my first question to you is, what made you go into filmmaking, and then how do you hold the camera? I'm essentially dying to ask you this question. I mean, you can't see the physical camera, let alone see what you're shooting. So how?
Well, to answer your first question, it all started with storytelling. I love storytelling and writing. So that's been ever since I was a little kid. I loved writing little books or plays or whatever it might have been. And then obviously as I got older, I started writing more scripts and things like that. And then it became apparent to me in my early 20s, when I was trying to get work funded and all that sort of stuff, that people were just rejecting me based purely on my disability and not based on the work. So I thought, well, I've got all these scripts that I want to make, so how am I going to do this? So I thought, well, the only way to do it is if I make them myself. So the first film I made it's the only serious film. It's a very serious documentary about disability and mental health, because as you would know, a lot of people with disabilities go on to have mental health problems because of the opportunities they're denied and the discrimination that they face. So,
yes, they do. Don't get me started on that one.
Yeah, so because of that, mental health is rather prevalent. So I did a 90-minute documentary all about disability and mental health, which I made completely by myself, to hopefully prove my point that people with disabilities can actually do the things that they say they can do. And then after that, I've gone on to make, like I said, a whole bunch of comedy films and all that sort of stuff. And to answer your second question, I'm legally blind, so I've got a little bit of vision. So I can't see out of my right eye and have very limited vision in my left eye. So I do have a very small amount of vision, but I have a sighted guide who helps me. So when I'm on set, I've got a guy called Simon who's essentially my number one production man, or he likes to refer to himself as Beer Nuts Productions Chief Production Coordinator. So, which I like that title, I must say.
Good. So you have a able-bodied aide to make sure that you don't drop the very expensive camera.
Yeah, well, to make sure that we're not shooting just the sky and that the actors are in frame and all that sort of stuff.
Yes, yes, exactly. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking more about dropping the expensive equipment, which I have been knowing to not watch what I've been doing, and I've been knowing to do some crazy stuff in my life, despite my cerebral palsy. So I feel your pain. I feel your pain most of
yeah, I've had Simon work with me now. So I've done 18 films, and he's worked with me on 16 of them. So he's been with me for a long time now. He's a great guy, and like I say, he knows. I mean, he's worked in TV and film for all of his life. So for the best part of 30 years, he's been in that industry. And so, so when we're on set, obviously I call the shots. I know what I want. And so, for example, the other thing too is, which is really key, as I'm sure you would understand as well, is that communication is key. So I'm very clear.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm very, very clear with my instructions. So usually on a film set, a director would say to his DOP, he'd say something like, I want you to film a long wide shot of that, of that couple over there. Whereas I'm a little bit different. I'll be more specific. So I'll be like, I want you to go from, belly button to an inch above the head on just the male, and then pull out so the female is then in shot. I would do something like that. So I'm much more specific in my instructions, so that Simon's got a really clear idea of exactly what I want. So yeah, I think communication is also very, very key to what I do, and also with the actors and the other crew members, because obviously we've got wardrobe and makeup and all the other crew members that are on set as well. So it does help a lot to be very, very clear with your instructions, so everybody knows precisely what it is you want, and there can be no confusion or misunderstandings.
That's an excellent point for everyone who is dealing with this health challenge right now. For those of us who are healthy, thank you very much. We need to be open and communicating with people around us, even if we can see them, because we are living not only on top of each other, but in uncertain times.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I suppose in everyday life, it's always good to be very clear with your communication, generally speaking. But I mean, when you can't see and you've got a limited amount of time to film a shot and all that sort of stuff, it's really paramount to make sure that everybody's on the same page, to make sure, because if there's one thing I hate in life, generally speaking, I suppose, would be miscommunications and misunderstandings. I find it really unnecessary if you just clear the first time and everybody understands the first time, then there won't be any problems. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
Yeah, I think that's really important.
Lack of communication drives me bananas, and people that know me personally know that by now. And so, drives me bananas, only because I have a physical disability, so I have a neurological disability that can get in the way. So as long as we're clear, that's perfectly fine. But if you had to move house and could only bring 5 things with you, what would they be?
Well, I reckon number one would be my computer, because obviously it's where all my work is. You know, I type on there for my scripts, and I do all my work and all of that sort of stuff. So I'd go a bit crazy if I didn't have my computer with me. Like, my computer speaks to me, so I have a special program on that allows it to speak to me. So when I'm typing my scripts, you know, it reads them back to me, so I know what I'm typing basically, and you know. Same with emails and all that sort of stuff. So I'd go a little bit crazy without my computer. I would also take a friend of mine. I'm a big football fan, AFL, Australian rules football, not the NFL like you guys. I'm Australian rules football. And my football team in the early 2000s, we won 3 Super Bowls in a row, which is almost unheard of. And so for my birthday, she got me a present of a football signed by 12 of the triple premiership winning players and the coach, which was just incredible. So that's sitting right next to my computer. So I would have to also bring that with me, because I just love it so much. What else would I take? I would also take, when I was born, my grandma, she knitted a teddy bear for me, which I've still got to this day. So I suppose I would have to bring that as well. How many more am I left, Win?
Yeah. Well,
So
I said 5.
5. So I'm allowed 2 more things. So
Yep.
I'm bringing my teddy bear, my football, my computer. I would also bring, well, it's kind of cheating, but I'd have to bring my DVD collection, because, you know, film is my life. I love film. So
Yes.
I'll count that as 2 things, my DVD collection, because, you know, plus if I'm stuck on an island or something somewhere, I think it would keep me suitably entertained, because I've got a mountain of DVDs. I know you can download stuff now. So obviously Beer Nuts production stuff is all downloadable, but I've got DVDs up the wazoo. So I think I'd bring my DVD collection as well.
So, if your best friend had to write a book about you, what would the title be?
Oh, that one's an easy one. Troublemaker, because everybody who knows me knows that I'm just up for causing mischief wherever I go. And that goes for my work. And that goes for my work, and it goes for my personal life. I just like, I've got a friend of mine, and she said to me, you know, she said, it's quite funny, Gough, you walk around life pretending like you're a member of your own 30-minute sitcom. You just go around just doing things to amuse yourself. She said, it's hilarious. You know, I just go around causing mischief and trouble. So that goes with the work I produce. I like to stir people up a little bit with the work I produce, and also just in my personal life, I like being a bit mischievous. So yeah, so I think Troublemaker would be the title.
And what is your favorite book, and what is the title?
Well, I'm not a big book reader. I mean, I can't see, but I've got a few audio books I've got. But
Audio book, then.
Yeah, I do have. I love Stephen Colbert. I think he's really, really funny, and he released a book quite some years ago now called "I Am America and So Can You," and it's really, really, really funny. So I really enjoy that one. But if I'm going to choose a book to read, it's usually an autobiography of somebody that I admire or I enjoy. So there's a few good ones. Steve Martin has a really good one called Born Standing Up, about his early years into the entertainment industry. And Billy Connolly, he also has a couple of really good autobiographies as well that his wife wrote, which is very interesting as well. So I think that's sort of my genre, is more the comedy or the autobiography kind of genre when it comes to books.
I didn't realize that Steve Martin had an autobiography, Standing Up. I didn't realize that at all. So
it's called Born Standing Up, and it's really interesting, and it's really funny as well, because I like Steve Martin a lot. He's a very talented man, and he's very funny on Twitter too. So for those out there who are on Twitter and they're looking for someone to follow for a bit of light relief, for a bit of entertainment, Steve Martin's really funny on Twitter.
Yeah. Well, I didn't realize he had a book out. And you guys, during the time of the coronavirus, Audible is giving a discount to their books. And of course, my book is on Audible. I come and win. All my books are on Audible, but I think we all need comic relief now. And that's one of the things that we can do to keep ourselves sane is not only watch ghost movies, but read or listen to a book. Listening to a book is still reading a book, you guys. So, Gus, do you have any questions for me?
Well, I am a film guy, so I suppose it would be remiss if I didn't ask you a film question. So, if you were to name your top 5 films, I'll give you 5, Win. So, if you had to name your top 5 films of all time, what would be your favorite films?
Let's see. Now you put me on the spot here. Let's see.
Well, I tell you what. While you're thinking, a couple of my favorite films that I really enjoy the work of Jim Carrey, for example. So I love. He did a film with The Truman Show. I absolutely love. I think that's a really fantastic, creative, imaginative film. I really love The Truman Show, and one of his more offbeat kind of films that he did a few years ago called I Love You, Philip Morris. I think that's a really clever and really fantastic film as well. So they'd be 2 that'd probably squeeze into my top 5. So yeah. So what about you, Win? What would be your top 5 favorite films?
My top 5 favorite films isn't the new Lion King. No, no way. No way, no how. And no way, no how. I just learned how scary the Lion King was. So no way, no how on that one. I would have to say Stuart Little. I would have to say Dr. Doolittle, the new one. Thank you very much. The new one is fabulous. I would have to say Little Women. I would have to say the Aladdin, the new one. And I would have to say again, Jim Carrey, Liar, 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 because that is phenomenal. And if I had to add another one, Wonder, the movie based upon the child's book, Wonder. And so those are my top.
Some good choices there. I've got a friend of mine who took their daughter to go and see the new Aladdin film. And I think that she absolutely, I haven't seen it yet, unfortunately. I've got to go and watch it, but she absolutely loved it. The parent, my friend, she said it was absolutely wonderful as well.
It was.
Yes.
It
so
was,
that very,
guys. And for those of you who do not like Will Smith and think he's better off not as a genie, can go hide underneath the rock because, Will Smith as a genie, he's
my friend said the same as you. They said he did a really wonderful job because you think to yourself, no one can compete with Robin Williams. I mean, Robin Williams was the greatest, but they said he did it really differently, and because of that, it was really, really great.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it too. And so, what is your morning routine?
Well, I'm a big advocate of exercise. I think exercise is really, really important for both your mental health, probably more for your mental health than your physical health. So every morning I get up, I do some form of physical activity, no matter what it is. So at the moment, obviously, the gymnasiums are shut, which is kind of driving me a little bit bonkers. But I've sort of worked around it. So a lot of walking. And yesterday I did some boxing training. Obviously, the guy wasn't hitting me back. I was just doing the punching, but because that would be a little bit dangerous. But and swimming, I'm a big fan of swimming. But usually under normal circumstances, I'll hit the gym first thing in the morning and do some kind of physical activity, and that sort of sparks my brain into action, and then I'm good to go for the rest of the day, so I can take on my work day with 100% energy. Because I find if I don't do some exercise in the morning, I feel all sluggish and I just don't feel energetic, and my concentration isn't there and my brain's not working properly. So exercise is my number one morning routine and ritual, 100%.
Yeah, well, exercise is something to keep our minds stable. I know we're going through this World Health Crisis, and so what would be your advice to people with disabilities who are about to go stir crazy and
Well,
in the time of coronavirus or in general?
Well, my number one tip, of course, is to go to beernutsproductions.com and download some films and get some entertainment, because I think, like you said earlier, I mean, you got to keep your mind active and busy. And so, going and doing some exercise is very good. And then obviously some healthy distractions, like, a good book, like you say, or like your book, for example. They could listen to your book and watch one of my films and distract themselves with some healthy distractions of some fun entertainment. I think that's, kind of maybe, I think a good way to look at it is maybe think of it as like a bit of a stay-at-home vacation. So, you do a little bit of exercise and then watch a good film and read a good book, and hopefully by the time you're done, all of this nonsense will be over.
Yes, hopefully. So yeah, because I'm realizing that I was talking to people, I've been talking to people all week, stateside and now internationally, and I'm realizing that the services internationally slash stateside are forgetting about the elderly, they're forgetting about the elderly, much less the disabled. My goodness. I mean, if it's like fending for ourselves if we don't have people to help us. And so, my goodness, try and get someone to help you guys, because it's going to make life easier, number one. And then you don't have to rely on the disabled services, number two, that don't want to seem to help. I mean, I was talking to someone right in my own backyard. Now, granted, I'm in Aspen, Colorado, and they go US, for those of you that don't know, and they go, we're doing nothing to help, we're just trying to see the forest for the trees ourselves. And it's like, oh my goodness, you guys. So help those who are disabled and help the elderly, because I know you guys are just trying to see the forest for the trees, but at least help.
No, well, yes. Obviously, I think now's a good a time as any to look to your neighbour, whether they've got a disability or elderly or not. I mean, now's the time for people. My number one fear of coming out of all of this is that people will be more selfish. So, and that would be a bad outcome for the human race. So, I think people just need to, like you say, they need to maybe just think about their neighbour in times like this, and just realize that, everybody is going through the same thing, whether, as you say, like myself, got a disability, but I'm still the same as you and my neighbour and everybody else. We're still all suffering a bit of loneliness and a little bit of, struggling with different things. I mean, so it's really important that people just remember their community, I think, is probably the best way to put it.
Remember the community, you guys. Remember the community. And yes. Now, Gus, where can people find you?
Absolutely. So obviously I'm all over social media. So if people type in Beer Nuts Productions into YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I'll come up. So and obviously the number one place and the only place to download my work is the Beer Nuts Productions website, which is beernutsproductions.com. So just remember, you drink a beer, you eat some nuts, and you get some entertainment. So beernutsproductions.com.
Yes. And so, Goss, you've been put on hold twice, actually. Your films on set have been put on hold twice. Once because of the wildfires down there, thank you very much. And now during the time of the coronavirus. So what's going to be your number one thing when all this chaos is over?
Well, yeah, so as you say, I mean, another good skill, I suppose, for people out there, and something I've had to learn over the last 6 months is to think on my feet, because I can't be still, I need to keep everything moving along. So it's about trying to improvise and work out different ways to go about doing things. So at the moment, because we can't get out and film at the moment, we're doing lots of audio tracks. So there are audio downloads on the Beer Nuts Productions website too, like little 20-minute audio sketches. So we've been doing quite a few of them recently that people can download and enjoy as well. So it's about adapting. But unfortunately, like you say, we would have liked to have made a couple of films, but sadly at the moment we can't. So we're doing the audio files instead, which hopefully people enjoy just as much. But yeah, so on the website, there's 18 movies now. We've made 18 films, and we've got 10 audio downloads up there as well. So there's plenty up there to hopefully keep people suitably entertained.
Oh, wow, yes. And I wish you the best of luck, Gus. And I certainly appreciate you guys subscribing and keeping me company as I do this. And we're going to make it happen to you guys. We're going to get through this. And we are also going to come out strong on the other side. And Gus, I wish you the best of luck. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Win. Really appreciate it.
You just listened to Ask Win, the podcast. To become a guest in the show, visit our website at askwin.weebly.com or call 816-591-3399. Just look for Danielle. Connect with Win on Twitter at WinKellyCharles and like our Facebook page at Butterflies of Wisdom. You can also purchase Win's book through Amazon.com or get a copy of the audiobook through Audible. Ask Win, the podcast.